Why?
Wasn't that?
Why?
All right, it is 7 PM on September 1st, 2020, and we are gonna open the Committee of Committees meeting minutes up for agenda. Oh, we gotta do call to order, sorry. Brenda, please call to order. Roll call, I should say.
Yeah. Committee members, trustee Chris Campbell,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Wexler,
Here.
Tina Simpson.
Here.
Ed Christensen,
Here.
Jerry Jones,
Here.
President Rick Worm,
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Onyevaney here, Clerk Dave Monson absent, Engineer Matt Hanson. Here. Public Works Supervisor
Matt.
Chuck Furry. Here. Public Supervisor Nathan Hill. Here.
All right, so now we'll consider the minutes.
Thanks.
Maybe.
There's no minute thing on here. Oh, consideration of the minutes, that's all they put. We got no date or no.
Oh, wait, I don't think we have any minutes because it was a special meeting last,
There's no minutes on
right.
I was gonna say, there's nothing down.
I'm like, there's nothing.
It was a special meeting, the last time we had a committee level, we changed to a special meeting, so they'll be approved next week at the voting meeting for the board. All right, so we'll move on to reports of officers. So discussion of off-road vehicles. Obviously, we've been talking about this for a little while, and we know where, county stands, other communities around us stand. We've got to decide which direction we'd like to start looking into, as well as, now that it's kind of come to light that the sheriff is open to negotiating for a part-time police department, we'd rather go that way than, administrative adjudication for ordinance enforcement.
Rick, you did this one.
I did, before I ever started. So, if we do the, part-time police department, it would be through the sheriff would operate as the police chief, they would operate as an independent police department within the village. Three times the sheriff would use them, but never to actually write reports and stuff outside of the village during the time they're supposed to be here. I personally would like to pursue that route and see what we can come up with. But I think we should also look into the administrative adjudication to see what it's gonna take, what that would cost, so we can compare the two. And then we have to still decide what we wanna do about off-road vehicles, because both of those options are ways to go around off-road vehicles. If we decide to legalize them for use within the village limits, we've had a few communities around us lately that have done it, we could probably take a lot of the information they've used. The only thing I would ask is that we find some way to delineate them, that we can tell from a distance who they are. If they have, you know, it could be a friggin' pole with a pennant on it, with a number on it. So if we could get an idea who it is, if they're doing something they shouldn't be, it would also help people see them if there's something waggling around in the air that might be bright colored. But it would also require insurance and to be registered with the village and probably be of driving age to use them.
Safety?
Yes,
Having the
safety.
safety class, isn't there an operator safety class or something?
So, what are your thoughts?
Well, there is, you know, it'd give us revenue, you'd have to get them registered, have insurance. To get it registered, you'd have to have it inspected, which, over there in Stillman at Twisty Cycles, Dan Sadoff could inspect them to make sure they're, you know, all right, there's no oil leaking and stuff like that. I mean, it's good revenue. I mean, and say, you know, you can get them little plates that's gotta be on the four-wheeler ATV, it's got a number on it, you know, say Davis Junction or whatever on it, give them 2 strikes. So say your registration fee for the village is $100, guess what? You mess up twice, triple that fine that you paid for registration. That's $300, and then suspend their permit for a whole financial year. I mean, it's revenue, and I think we'd see a lot of things slow down. People flying down the streets, I think they'd slow down because, I mean, someone reports them twice. Sorry.
But then it becomes an enforcement issue again when they go ahead and ride it in the first place, so. Until you figure out how to enforce it, I don't know why you'd worry about whether you do or don't do something with four-wheelers. To me, I think we're kinda putting them ass backwards, but that's.
I mean, we could still put an ordinance out there if, you know, if they keep on riding, keep on finding them.
Well, you are ordinance enforcement, so do you want to spearhead to look into the ordinances about doing this.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
I will look into you and I can talk to the sheriff.
Okay.
Chris and I? I don't care.
Well, it's up to you whether or not you wanna allow them on the road, otherwise they're not allowed.
No, we're talking about the part-time enforcement.
Oh, that's,
Because there's other things we could use them for. I mean, like, we could make their salaries just sitting on North Junction Road.
I mean, well, if you give them tickets under an ordinance for the village,
Well, they would be operating as the Davis Junction Police Department. They could sit on North Junction Road and ticket them.
right, as long as they write them under the
Right.
village ordinance, then you get a portion of the revenue.
Right.
Right, I understand.
But, I mean,
I don't wanna turn the village of Davis Junction into a speed trap, though.
Neither do
Thanks.
I.
no.
I got two questions. One, I mean, I agree with what John just said, that there's no point in changing the ordinance to allow them until we have a mechanism to control it. Make sure that we can make sure that things operate in a safe manner. But two, I'm not aware, how can you purchase liability insurance for a golf cart or a quad? And I think you could.
You can buy insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
can
You
get
buy
can.
insurance to protect it. I don't think you buy liability insurance.
The snowmobiles, you buy liability insurance for them.
Yeah, I got insurance on my quad, and it protects if it gets crashed, stolen, whatever. If I crash it, it gets,
You're protecting your quad. What if you hit somebody? That's liability insurance. If you hit another vehicle. Because if we're gonna allow them on the
That's on the
road, you need
policy.
liability insurance.
Again.
Under the policy.
Would that fall under the fact that, like, if you're of age to drive, like 16 and over, then would your other insurance cover you, or no?
Mm-mm.
Because, I mean,
It's a rider, you have to have a separate policy for, off-road vehicles.
I mean, in my snowmobile, they got liability on that, so I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get liability on it.
I'd have to believe you can, because, I mean, they're allowed on your own land, they're allowed in parks, I would assume you'd have to have liability to,
You can
In case
get
you cause
liability on
damage
a
to
boat.
somebody else.
I mean, a tractor, whatever, I mean, I'm sure you can get liability on a quad. It's got a motor, it runs.
but again, this is the stuff we need
It's
to
all
talk about, and
secondary.
see what's out there. I don't see any problem with going forward and finding out what we can do to either not, to block their use or to allow their use, whatever we're going to do, whatever we decide as a group. But I agree too that we can't do anything without the enforcement. And that's why we need to either look at the administrative adjudication or,
No, we should look
Talk
at
to the
both.
sheriff.
We should look at both.
I agree. I mean, to find out what's gonna be
Yeah.
best and what's gonna fit best for the village.
I'm sure working with the sheriff shouldn't be that difficult as long as he's open to it.
He was very open to it.
so when you're talking with the sheriff, so like you can maybe clarify too, so when you're talking with him about like the cost of what that would cost the village and so forth as well, I assume?
That's what we'll negotiate as we talk.
Well,
Find
we
out
would,
what it costs for other places that are doing it, what it would cost for us. It's gonna depend on what we want.
yeah,
And it's really gonna
absolutely.
come down to what we want. We want 24/7 coverage. It's gonna be a hell of a lot more than if we want part-time coverage.
Basically, all you're doing is covering the salary and equipment of one of his people or whatever that you want to be in the village for the time frame that you want them to be in the village. And I'm sure that that's a pretty simple calculation for them, what it would cost.
Well, we have to buy the car, we have to buy the equipment.
Do you, or are you just paying them a certain amount of money to provide it?
I believe we have, because they will operate as the Davis Junction Police Department.
Yeah, that's the way it was.
They
before.
don't operate as a sheriff's department, but in a sheriff's department car, just
Nope.
operating
Now, we
within
might,
Davis Junction?
we might be able to do that, but unless it's contractual to us, he said they can't enforce our ordinances.
And then the
So
other,
again, this is the stuff we gotta find out. We
You know,
don't know.
I don't think so, because was it Love's Park or McChesney Park?
McChesney does sheriff's office.
Yeah, and they,
All Brian Johnson does.
right, and they were never in McChesney, or whoever's cars, they were in the sheriff's department cars, enforcing the sheriff, you know, the rules within there as the sheriff's department. They contracted them out to take care of it. I'm sure that we could do the same thing. I don't care, it doesn't matter to me either way, you know, it all depending on how much it costs you.
and since we're all just reflecting so well, I think the end of that conversation was the money we were gonna donate or pay towards the sheriff's office was gonna be put into the general fund, and the sheriff didn't want it that way, and that's where it all fell apart.
And I asked
like
him-
it does every time.
I asked him about that, and he said he doesn't care where it goes as long as the numbers all line up at the end.
Oh, now, the prior conversation was over the sheriff.
I brought that up to him.
And
So, again, it
Well,
sounds
that's
like
good
he's very
then,
open.
that solves that
And I'm
one
just
problem.
like, while we're here talking about insurance, looking at like American Family, off-road vehicle insurance, ATV, what's covered, liability, gear, comprehensive, so you can, it has, and there's, Progressive does too, American Family does too, so like if they had to, they could.
Sure, you would have to
You
be
don't
of legal
want-
age though, right?
Yeah, otherwise, yep.
Steve Johnson.
I mean,
Well, anyway,
so they'd have to have,
Call him Brian.
you know, proof of the insurance and
Right, I agree.
everything, go through inspection,
Here we wait.
and before they get a sticker. Or however we do it, a little license plate thing, you know, you see them on ATVs and stuff, you know, and just put a number on there so it's visible. I mean, a flag, it's gonna be kinda hard when they're going down the road and it's going like this, but, I mean, ATV's got little bars where you can zip tie them to or whatever.
We just put an RFID on it.
I mean, we can do the, you know,
That'd be great.
sticker fee,
You
50,
can track where they all are.
$100, or we can do it as a car, $150. But, it's like I said, they get caught twice doing something stupid, triple that, whatever their registration fee was, and revert their, sticker for a whole financial year.
Let's get there first.
You're done.
So I guess instead of just assuming you wanna work with the sheriff, are you open to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll get some information from other towns and,
And another thing I would be curious is if they have hours of operation.
yeah, we'd have to have hours.
Because we don't want them driving around at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
So who wants to work with Jared on this? Or,
I'm not for it, so I'm not gonna.
So it has to be a board member, it can be someone from the public, or,
I wouldn't see a reason why it couldn't be something public, except they're not gonna have any way to, I mean, it'd just be ideas that you'd have to bring forth as,
Because there's part of me that vaguely remembers if we're gonna allow them to be on the street, they have to have some sort of, the same thing a car does. As far as
Again,
safety equipment.
Yeah.
Rochelle passed this last Monday.
John, you move forward, nothing to
yeah, you're gonna have to have turn signals, and you can buy a little kit for turn signals
So-
out there.
And that's something we're gonna pull, is find out what Rochelle's language says.
Right, that's, I think, wasn't Sandy gonna check into?
Yep. But she's gone for a
Right.
week, so, but we'll find out more.
It's kinda moot for this year anyway, isn't it?
What's that?
I'm sure you can look it up online.
Yeah.
Sure it's on the board second.
And I'd say golf carts, you gotta have a driver's license, most bigger ATVs and a 50 and a 90.
An ATV is gonna be way more dangerous than a golf cart.
By far.
And most of the people riding the ATVs are probably not licensed drivers, or maybe couldn't even be licensed drivers in the first place.
Well, I mean, on 50 and a 90 it's for little kids, but once you get, I think it's, past the 250, you gotta be 16 or older. But, it,
We'll have all winter to discuss this, 'cause I don't think we're gonna get anything done before the end of
Right.
summer.
Mhm.
So why don't we,
I was gonna say, and doesn't the state have its own rules too? About,
At a
Yeah,
minimum.
they're illegal.
well, right, that's what I'm
State
saying.
roads.
Like, the state has their own, like, age, you have to have a safety class, just
Yep.
different things, requirements.
I'm sure when we get a look at Rochelle's, but we have all the time in the world for it.
All right, so we'll move on. Are you clerking? Clerk? Substitute?
Yes, I'm working.
Clerk pro tem?
I don't have anything for the clerk, didn't need anything, except for
Treasurer?
paperwork. The treasurer, I have this lovely packet, that you see in your packet.
It's long.
This is DOC grant, this is something we've done we do every year, we get percentage every year. This is, getting money to be reimbursed for the EOC grant, which all I really have reimbursed is the telephone cost and a little time for being processed the paperwork. I did put in for some if we had training or something this year, so there's a little something there.
Really?
Yeah,
So,
'cause the EOC, the actual drill this year, they never called us.
what's the $4,140 for then?
That's the amount that we get reimbursed.
Oh, all right.
Every
That sounds
quarter-
good.
Yeah, every quarter I have to, take my receipts, send them in,
So, with the EOC, I recently learned of a couple of, areas near my employment that has applied for EOC grants, and they don't need it, but they're getting like $30,000 generators and additions put on their buildings, and like, they paid for remodels of their buildings, and they're paying for furniture, because it's an EOC.
I have to, in March, I have to fill out,
See who their grant writer is.
a lot of paperwork.
I was gonna say,
And
'cause
that's
just that, I was gonna say,
$4,000.
just that thing is long,
$4,000.
going through it.
Somebody's
They
writing
have to
those.
approve,
So,
they have to approve all that.
then I have a
Absolutely, but,
question.
I mean, they're,
When you say that, so like, I don't even know either, like, so like, yeah, there's a ton of paperwork for that, for the $4,000, but would it be worth an investment to have somebody, like, if that's, like what you're talking about,
A grant writer?
yeah?
Have somebody write
Would
that
be
that
worth
knows how to
anything?
write
I
it.
don't, I
We
don't.
went down that road before too, but,
No?
and not only that,
I don't really think so, 'cause this is.
where did we end up
this
with
is
that
something
road?
we get because we're within 10 miles of the nuclear plant.
Okay. I just
No,
wondered
this
with
was
that,
diff-
what you
this-
were.
So we probably research it, we'll
County
get a hold of whoever those communities are and find out what their,
and they're
Fine.
getting remodeled buildings that aren't even technically the EOC command post or headquarters. It's an alternate building.
So they must attribute it somehow to it.
It's like, it's an emergency backup
Oh, well,
facility.
There you go.
it's
Do
the
you know-
alternate
I mean,
EOC.
So you wanna get the $2 million to redo this place with that?
All I do is fill.
Not a
the
bad
paperwork,
idea if you could
and I
do
have
it.
to-
It-
I request
I'm not
it, and I have
joking.
to tell
That-
them.
Neither am I.
They donate $1 million to build an EOC.
Yeah.
And if we designate it an EOC,
We can, right?
That's
We can
why-
super.
All you have to have is the one room set up for the EOC.
Hey,
for-
and we're 10 miles from the nuclear power plant.
At least till this month.
Yeah, so they're shutting down here.
I was gonna say, what it would be is if you
I mean-
said, we
It's silly money.
wanna, we
Federal
wanna
money.
I just wonder if
transfer
the
it
people
from
that
the
did
fire
it, that you
station
know of in the
over here.
businesses around
Right,
where you
exactly.
work, if they had a grant writer write the grant,
no.
they just filled out the paperwork.
Because one of the things we talked about in this building or in a new village hall, whichever direction we're going, was a smaller conference room. And you could designate that smaller conference room as the EOC
Yeah.
and
Take it
have,
from the
and
fire
move it out of the
station
fire
over here
station.
and-
Hey, for that kind of money, we'll put in their own.
But, you'd probably start with is reach out to those communities and find out where they actually applied.
$4,000 into the next year's grant, they're gonna say, "Have you-" they're gonna be like, really?
But who's that submitted to? The state?
Hey,
There are
That's probably
organizations.
allocated for funds due to the 10-mile radius of
Yeah.
the nuclear
Right,
power
that's what she
plant.
said.
This is for different. This
She
is
did.
You did.
emergency
You were talking when
declaration
she
for
was saying
weather
that.
and
Yeah.
disaster.
this is the,
This is for the
So,
radius of the.
let's find out
the
then
radius
where
of
they
the-
applied, and then see, look into it. Because that was one of the
This
things,
is
again,
the
have a small conference room.
intergovernmental agreement for IEMA.
So do you need a,
did somebody wanna read all this? and
I
then-
did.
No,
It was
because
boring
when
as
I
could
started,
be.
I was like, well, there's a lot of pages, I was like, this is
It
ridiculous.
was written by lawyers,
There's a lot of work.
boring.
For the
Where's our
small
lawyer
ones
when we
that
need
you
him?
get back?
I put a lot of time into it.
Yeah. So can you quantify your time and a dollar amount to put in there?
I do, but it's not, it's probably not that.
I'm just saying. Like, just curious.
Filling out paperwork.
Like, a lot of that 4,000 is for trainings, right, for,
No, it's for the, mostly for the telephone.
oh, just for the telephones, it's not for like,
The
that,
telephone. There's 6, 7 lines over there. That's mostly what.
yeah, I believe those things need to be updated, I don't think they've ever been updated.
Yeah, they're still all hardwired lines,
Yep.
I don't know who
which is
does that.
probably not a bad thing in the event of a storm, 'cause
Yeah, we know how that worked out when they were.
So who would do that?
Am I supposed to update the phone too?
Who would do what?
How do we do how do you update those phones?
Maybe the ELC coordinator could update those phones and,
I'll
Hey.
contact him.
Are you gonna put that on the consent agenda for next week?
I guess.
All right, sounds good.
Let's
Super.
talk about it then.
We won't
Well, we
even.
actually don't have to
Good.
talk about
You
it
can't
then.
tell, there's nothing you can change in this document. This started in March.
We can't tell the state how much more to give
No,
us?
I just
Not
wanna,
this- Not this fiscal year,
I just wanna vote on it, that's.
but, yeah, but next year is a new year, so that's when I'll be doing fiscal year 2022. So excited about that.
Yeah, you sound like it.
But I believe that's, all I have this morning.
Pat, it's up to you.
Okay,
Move this down where I can see it.
get my mic here. Taking a few things off this month. The Harvest Glen plat, our phase one, that final pay request, waiver of liens we got in, we sent that to, I think Brenda on the 18th, so once that's paid, I'm gonna take that off the list next month. The phase two reconstruction, village attorney did contact the bonding company for Martin. On the 24th, the bonding company is supposed to be contacting Martin to hopefully resolve the issue. I've not heard anything back from the attorneys. If we don't hear anything in the next week or so, maybe the attorneys can reach out to
I
them
asked
again.
him what there was a time frame, and, Dan, is it Dan? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
Said that, they weren't too concerned about the time frame. I'm not until it gets closer to the end of the paving season.
Yep.
We'll find out.
Nothing on the 72 sidewalks, Pacific Avenue culvert, modifications, they're installed, and it looks like, Corey, when he gave me the update, it was restoration to be completed this week, but drove by it, looked like everything was restored and stuff around the culvert. Yep. North Junction Road seal coating, nothing. Ogle Crossing pond repairs, channels in, looks like they had the blanket down for the seating as well, so I think all that's completed, and I think, pay request, minus retainage was sent, today for that project. Nothing on the microsurfacing, nothing on the pond modifications. The maintenance building, water main and Autumn Lane water main extension, that final pay request was sent to the village for payment, so that's coming off next month. And then the water tower painting, if you've been out there, we've got a full site of equipment. They've got the temporary pressure system set up and it is operational, running off of that now. Contractor mobilized on the 31st, to start setting up the rigging, so everything that you see off the top, all those supports, that's going to be for the containment, so they're gonna pull the curtain up, and once that curtain goes up, then they can start the blasting of the exterior of the tank. Verizon's got their temporary tower installed, 911's been removed, LR Communications, they've removed all their equipment. That really is, they kinda cleaned up their stuff up there. They removed equipment that was no longer really in operation.
Glad we paid for that.
What's that?
Glad we paid for that.
Then they moved some of the stuff off the tower that they could. There are a few antennas up there of theirs that they just couldn't, take down, so we left them up there. The contractor's gonna work around them. LR is gonna come up, and as the contractor's moving around the top to do their blasting and painting, LR is gonna move their equipment as we go, so there's gonna be just a little coordination there. The one thing I did bring with me,
Yeah, it's all right, I'll pass it down.
Three colors.
and here's the color card. I mean, you can get specific colors if you want, but that's their standard colors. The tank, if you wanna call it the base color for the tank, when the card goes around, it'll be the Tennemic white, would be the base for it, so that's kind of the top left there. Obviously, the logo and the letters are gonna be your black, and then the stripes will be the safety red.
Nothing.
The only, we've given the final, layout of the logo, lettering, and the striping to the contractor. The only addition was the striping, and, they didn't charge us any additional for, any labor for installing, the lettering. They just had to buy an extra 3 gallons of the hydroflon to do the stripe work, and that's about $1,200, so if everybody's okay with that, we'll get that processed and the change order process for the stripes.
Tennemic?
Tennemic.
Interesting,
It's cement spelled
Tennemic.
backwards.
oh,
It was
that's the name of the company.
yeah, I think,
Got wealthy off of that.
yeah.
Hey, they're making money, I guess you can.
So there should be a lot of activity this month, as long as the weather's good. If the weather's questionable on, outside, they may be moving, generally the contractor's gonna be working outside when the weather's good. Weather's not so good, they're gonna move inside and do, blasting and painting on the inside, so they're generally gonna try to keep busy. And then the last one is the Village Hall assessment. Alan said he was at your August 18th meeting to kind of give a review of the assessment, and then, he said he's just basically has, at this point, just getting you some cost estimates on just some general repairs to the village hall and apartment buildings, so.
Did we get our temporary easement situation worked out?
According to, and talking to David, they looked at the easement plat and everything, so it's, we should be in good
The way the
shape.
plat's written, we don't need permission to be.
No.
Thanks.
Anything to add on the tower? Brett's been working, he's gonna have a little bit of extra work and doing the backwashing and stuff with the filter. It's gonna be a little bit different operation with the pressure tanks, but,
It's actually quite a bit different, so, I usually get there, about, what's going on here, Brandon? There we go, better. Anyway, thank you. I usually get there about 6:30 in the morning, 6:45, something like that. Around 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock is, crazy usage. Obviously, Monday through Friday, people getting ready to go to work, school, so I'm constantly changing numbers. So it's busy. It's not a set it and forget it, so, it's monitored 7 days a week. I'm in, George will be in. We go out periodically. I may go out at 10, 11 o'clock at night, check pressure tanks. So you will see either myself or George at strange hours driving around, checking things, 'cause we're constantly changing things
How many days have we been off the tower now?
since Friday.
I personally haven't noticed any difference,
The hot water tank.
so.
but, yeah.
As long as we get a little rain to keep people from watering, we'll be good.
Like Brett said, you just gotta watch the system, you know, and stuff. It's, when you have a filter, you gotta be down for a short period of time to do backwashes and, you know, so, you know, you got enough storage there that they can go through those backwash cycles
We
and.
haven't even attempted that yet,
Yep.
because my iron is not up there, and I'll be honest with you, looking at the minutes, I don't know if
Yep.
we can handle one yet.
And we're gonna push it. I mean, he was backwashing more frequently. When you have the elevated storage, you know, I told him, so he doesn't have to go through as many backwashes. Just monitor the finished iron, as long as you're keeping it in that, you know, typically he's running about a 0 all the time, but if it starts to creep up even to, you know, 0.1, 0.15, you're probably still fine. Just push it, and then, you know, we'll limit the number of backwashes we have during the painting construction season, so.
You say it's gonna be time consuming for you guys.
It is very time consuming.
Any questions? Well, we'll tell the contractor to go ahead with those colors for the tank, and, we'll get a change order worked up for the $1,200 for the additional paint for the stripes, so.
About right, I bought 6 gallons of epoxy primer and urethane paint, and it was $4,800. Stuff was expensive.
So, I'm just gonna ask, and again, not to get the whole conversation about the whole,
That general bill.
so, when we originally did this, did we not have the stripes on there? So was that the deal?
Yeah, we just, basically what we did was we gave the village options of what we wanted on the tank, but we were trying to get out for bids and everything, so we basically, what we gave the contractors, what was basically exactly what was on the tank.
Okay,
We gave
Then we
bid
talked about it for
approval
weeks.
while we had 3 pages of design.
because we did
with
come back, and we
design.
had another one when, like,
Right,
yeah,
we combined two designs.
yeah.
I like what we came up with.
Okay,
It looks nice.
that's all I did,
Huh.
I.
The lettering's gonna be different, you got the stripes, so it's gonna have a different look to it.
Different train.
Yep, it's gonna have a different look.
It'll make
No
all the
caboose.
difference in the world.
Mhm.
You're gonna notice.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
We can only hope.
William's got that right.
We have pictures of it before, and so we get before and after on the website when it's done.
Oh, my God. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Yep,
That all?
yep, that's all I got.
Alright. Move on to the committees. Community development and events.
Because of the Labor Day weekend, our next farmer's market will be September 9th. And I think we're gonna start going down to between 7 and 7:30 is when we end it. just because it's getting darker. And then I brought up the last committee meeting about the fall party and how to go about doing it with our rules that we have. And I think, talking with the people who help me out organizing and stuff, I think I'm gonna try to arrange it to where it is a drive-through, where everything is just done, they can come through, get whatever I've thrown together that way, and just, that way we're abiding by the rules and nobody has to worry about their kid or stuff like that. Any questions on that?
I like that idea.
And 'cause I already had my date set in October, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, and I don't know if I have it on my calendar. Actually, I probably do have it on my calendar. I had it set for October 17th is when I had it set for.
October what?
17th.
Thank you.
And then another discussion on, would be, because I've had people reach out and ask me if we've canceled Halloween. I'm like, how do I have permission to cancel Halloween? So that is something that needs to be discussed on if we wanna, is hours, you know,
I think we need to let it get closer with the
well, right,
with
that's,
the revelation from
right,
the CDC
but you
recently.
have the people that are, you know, and I know the month of October is not promising us anything right now,
It's getting real.
so. But I'm just throwing that out there.
I guess trick or treat at your own risk.
What?
Trick or treat at your own risk.
Well,
If people don't
I
want it,
I know we've brought up trunk or treating before
you know,
and stuff like that, but, you know, I don't wanna take anything away from the kids because so much has been stripped from them already. So, it's just a thought that I'm just throwing out there right now. But, I think that is all I have.
All right, finance.
Only thing, I got discussed now on the agenda, Brenda and Sandy reached out. We need to start having the budget appropriations conversation. So, next committee meeting, we'll be discussing our tax levy, and what we wanna pursue for our percentage. Unless you guys just wanna do it now, but I was under the mindset, I'm thinking just the standard 5% increase. I don't see the need to go above and beyond yet. I know we always have the annual conversation that we need to increase our tax base, but until we have a final decision on what goes on with the landfill, in my opinion, I don't think I wanna spike property taxes until
No.
we have a decision on if,
And we still
I
need
would
to
agree
get
with
past all
that.
this other crap.
That would be helpful.
What's that?
It would be helpful if we got past the COVID crisis before,
Get
or
past all this.
pandemic, or whatever you wanna call it, before we even considered that.
do we need to have it on the agenda for discussion, or you just want me to direct them to write it at the 5%?
I would be fine with the 5%.
So would I.
Yep.
So would I.
It's fine.
You have a consensus.
Thank you. I got nothing else.
Ordinance enforcement.
nothing at this time.
Parks.
Nathan?
Yep. Real quick, so I know we've brought this up, Stillman Valley High School and, Meridian using our, ball diamonds. And I've looked at a couple ways of approaching it, and I wanted to get some feedback from you guys. Number one would be an intergovernmental agreement that we formally say, okay, you use our diamonds, we use yours, which, we have used some of their diamonds for Meridian Youth, in the past, to my understanding. But I'm not sure as to the quality or ability of them to be maintained or prepped and, to the same level that we might do. Or we could say, in lieu of an intergovernmental agreement, we would just charge them as we would any other, user, for rental and those types of things, for prep and all that. Or a combination thereof, where they buy the paint and just rent and that sort of thing. So, I did ask Heather, with the athletic director at Meridian, you know, her thoughts on an intergovernmental agreement and kind of pulled one from another community and drafted it for our needs and kind of said, well, something like this works. So just kind of thoughts from you guys as to how to approach them, how to approach that situation on, do you want to go in with an intergovernmental agreement for a year, see how it works, see if we can get, their usage and our usage, somewhat, on.
What was her reaction?
No, she hasn't responded yet to my kind of initially, the fees, when the fees came up initially, the only concern she had was being able to prepare budgetarily to pay for them, because they haven't in the past. So, just her knowing and getting a heads up. On top of that, because of the shift in sports, high school sports will be overlapping Meridian Youth Baseball and a lot of Illinois Gold tournaments. So we will have so much use going on where we may not even be able to accommodate all of the other users, us being, you know, our Meridian Youth taking priority, without adjusting schedules or those types of things. So we need to have a discussion with her regardless of this. I need to have a discussion with her regardless, because there's going to be a lot of use in the spring, but.
Yeah, 'cause we may have to use their fields with the smaller youth
Yeah.
versus.
The other option would be to have them take care of baseball, primarily, and we take care of softball, because we are primarily set up for softball in that most of our rentals and users are softball, and then we have to switch diamonds in between weeks, a couple times, because they have baseball, and then they'll have a softball game that weekend or whatever, so we have to go in and spend half a day.
Sophomore baseball only plays here. The varsity plays at the high school.
Yes.
All
the-
softball,
yeah.
high school play here.
Yep.
And they
Right.
gotta rebuild the mound.
Yep.
It's time consuming.
It's a day and a half to
Yeah.
reset the mound. Now, that's not every week, every time, but it is frequent throughout the
But you're building it on
year.
Monday, and you're tearing it down on Friday to accommodate for
A
tournament.
weekend tournament and
Yeah.
building it back up the next day.
Um,
So, yeah, there's some logistics that I want to work out with her, especially because of the combined, because usually they're done before then. But, just kind of general thoughts on your approach. I mean, I'm comfortable with pursuing either one. I'm leaning toward an IGA and seeing what type of usage we could get to, and how, if it's on par, you know, if their usage of our fields is on par with our usage of their fields, and having expectations and discussions as to the condition of those fields. And I'm also willing to say, hey, this is what it costs if you want to rent the fields. So,
I think from somebody who has kids that played sports through there and watching the boys, they prefer to play here. They're better quality fields and they look nicer. And I prefer to let the schools, utilize the better facilities. However, I don't think we need to eat all the costs. So I'd be a proponent of, if they paid for the paint and the chalk and everything else that they're utilizing, in exchange of using our fields, that we, and I think we had this agreement in the past, we had the scheduling rights to their fields as a supplemental for Meridian Youth and for tournaments. We could use the bus garage's overflow. Wasn't in writing? I don't think so either. But the caveat there is, we shouldn't be sending our public works employees over there to prep those fields in order for us to use them.
right.
It's a week of labor and material to get those up and running, when we're already doing that on our own diamonds for them to use here. I don't see the need to charge them, but as long as it's a give and take, and they pay for the material that they're using here. That's my opinion.
Because either way, they're gonna have to have that material anyway.
Right.
So you're saying, don't charge them. I don't really want to, I'm not looking to make a profit off
No.
the school district.
No.
If they wanna pay for the expenses, I don't have an issue with that. Is that what you said?
Yeah, not to charge them rent.
Right,
Just pay for the material that.
expenses.
Very good schedule.
All right.
Well, not expenses, I'm not saying the labor.
Oh, I,
Materials.
You're saying
Materials.
the chalk and
Right.
everything.
And we could
Right.
put that, we could formalize that in an IGA and detail that out and just have them write a check
I
for
would-
the,
If they wanna write a check or just buy the material and
Yep,
drop it
yep,
off here, I don't
yep,
care either way.
that's fine.
Whatever you're
That's kind of,
comfortable with, but
that's kind of the hybrid approach I was thinking, 'cause we, you know,
We're gonna
we're
need
using
their
each other's.
fields
Yeah,
as well.
we need their fields for our practices and some games and maybe some overflow. So formalizing that with an IGA and then,
the question's gonna arise, about insurance.
yeah.
We require the village to be a secondary insurer for anyone using an application here. Is the school district gonna require that, or because we are scheduling it, we are hosting Meridian Youth, and any organization that schedules a tournament through us, lists us as a secondary insurer, is that sufficient enough? Since
For
we're
us to
gonna
be over there.
Since we're gonna be the scheduling facility or scheduling body over there.
I will
I'm
put that
assuming
question in.
If we have an intergovernmental agreement, that would suffice, but
I will put that in, and I haven't even talked, I mean, I haven't even forwarded this to Sandy or the lawyer, you know, through any lawyers or anything. This just kind of is a, hey, what do you think of this idea? And, I'll follow up with her.
And I know
do-
those bus garages are not in great shape. I mean, there's like gopher holes, like 18 inches wide,
got the-
like somebody's gonna break an ankle.
Like a minefield.
I have a few of those too, but, actually, that question did come up because the high school wants to use the park for a cross-country meet, which is cool. But, yeah, then, you know, the insurance, you know, if they're having a special use permit with, you know, an event, a cross-country meet, you know, I'll have to follow up with her and see if they can provide that for us. Okay. I'll keep going on the IGA and work with them, and thank you for the feedback. I think that's kind of where I was going to, Billy. Thank you. The next thing I had was just, so one of the things I budgeted for and I wanted to, when I first started here was signage for parks. I think as you enter them, especially on the 10 acre, which is down in, Junction Road, there's no signage other than just some control signage. And so I budgeted for maybe, doing one for the community park or down there. And then, we kept referring to the park on Junction Road as 10 acre park, and I was like, is that its name? And no, that's just the name that we call it. So Sandy's like, bring that up, because we've talked about that a lot. So,
Forever.
I will throw it back out there. What is the name of the 10 acre, in quotes, 10 acre park?
That is it.
I've had this conversation
So-
a dozen times, and it's 10 acre park.
So, I mean, it can say that.
You guys wanna sponsor it?
If,
Couple
Believe it or
acres.
not,
Chris, that's great.
You're like, us.
I just don't wanna go
Rosemary,
buying a
something, all right?
$10,000 sign, you know, and have it say 10 acre park if there was
I
an
would,
intent by the board to sign it differently.
I don't know if somebody's gonna want those rights in exchange for what we've partially been negotiating,
Yes,
Will it all?
maybe.
so.
Well, let's
Potentially.
hold off and see.
It's hard, well, that's also hard to say now.
Is that ever gonna be done?
It's
often have
it's something
deep pockets.
we'll keep it in mind.
I'll worry about, community park
Okay.
first.
I'm totally,
As far as
I'm totally
signage.
okay with putting a sign that says 10 acre park.
Yeah, maybe
That's
while
fine.
you're doing that for this park, maybe then get the format of what the sign will look like, and then we'll just figure out what the name is when it's,
108B.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, so I'm gonna,
Park number 2.
yeah.
oh, no.
Can we get a
No.
nice stone, you know,
It's all in the name.
flower bed?
Yeah, it's not gonna be them,
Surprised the developer didn't
great
Yeah.
stuff,
require
foam
that on
signs.
It was supposed to be a school.
I remember that.
Only got an address, it makes.
So, that was it. I just wanna throw that back out there for you guys. That's all I had.
I have a question, Nate.
Former school lot park.
Yeah.
Tap.
Yeah.
When I have the farmer's market going on, we have, bathrooms are locked. I have nothing.
In the evenings?
Yes,
They have been?
yes. And
They should be set to go off at 8 or so.
No, 'cause I've had people come up and check them, Wednesday night.
What, what
Yeah,
time?
last Wednesday night.
This one over here?
No, the one in the park, because they've been organizing like their pickup games and stuff, and people at the farmer's market, and even the vendors have no
This
place
will
to
be open
go,
till 8.
that have had no place to go, 'cause they went
Talking
down
about the
there.
concession stand,
So the guys,
not well too.
It's, I have it, so I wanna make it dozen.
okay, yeah.
Okay,
So it should be open till 8.
'cause I know they went and checked it, and they said they weren't open.
They should be now.
I'll check it the next time, just, but I'm just,
I'll go out there tonight.
Just double check the
I'll
schedule.
double
Oh, yeah.
check it.
Oh, yeah, I got out. But no, usually it wa, the boys go in and, or one of us goes in and cleans it and fobs it, and then it stays open, but now Brenda set it up to be open, all day, so we can double check.
I'll double check it in the next farmer's market
I
just
did
to be
that a
sure,
couple weeks ago.
but I know it was checked Wednesday night and it was locked.
Yeah.
Was it the men's room?
This is one reason why
Really
we're
hard to
getting a
open.
new fob system.
It was.
Pull harder.
It is really hard to open.
I heard you.
The fob system?
Yeah, you can program it.
This
Oh.
has been kind of wacky.
Well, and the thing is, that I didn't have my fob on me to go see if mine would work.
When you said this, you mean the old one, not the new one, I
The
hope?
new one's not in yet.
All right, thanks. So we
The
didn't
old
waste
one-
money.
The old one's kinda goofy,
Well, we should take care of that soon, right?
it's being taken care of.
There you go.
Well, there might be some, with the moving of the towers and stuff, the concession
Yeah.
stand internet is down, 'cause we figured that out last week when we tried to turn the lights on remotely.
Because I was
That's
the one
exactly
who
it.
drove by.
Without the internet, it doesn't get the signal to open and close.
So I'm assuming that it has to be fobbed,
I know.
Yeah.
and it may not have been fobbed that day or something, but I doubt it, it should have been. Okay, so, we'll figure it out
That's
and make it, fix it. It's $2,500 to reestablish the internet link to the concession stand.
What?
It'll wait 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That was part of the system to reroute the waste for the water tower project, so they stole parts from concession. So in order to come back out and redo that, to get it working, so you can turn the ball diamond lights on and obviously unlock it, the quote was $2,500 to come back and do that.
Can we turn on the concession stand iPad? It's a cellular data connection. Would that work?
Only if it was tied into our network, 'cause it has to
Yeah,
go
so
over-
this is where we get into the proprietary, somebody set up a
Sounds good.
system a certain way kind of thing, and I'm willing to go play with it,
We really
but
don't wanna open up our network, 'cause it's
I don't wanna,
CPN.
work when we're done with the tower.
Oh, so somebody will go out there and open it.
Yes.
When the tower's done, everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
I think we can survive until the tower is done in PA.
Until we get, it's pretty something on the park.
Well,
There we are.
$2,500 is a lot of
Somebody
money.
can open it, right?
Okay, so 10 acre
open
park, we will
manually.
reconsider that once we get to a better place. But go ahead on the community park anytime you're ready.
Thank you, all right, you're good.
Not to step on your toes, John, but,
Sounds like
All
a
right.
plan, Rick, go. Giddy up,
alright, streets and ditches.
move it along.
You got anything, Fergie? I have nothing.
What?
Zero, zilch.
Last week they were really hard and hot, this week they're, really hard and
The
cooler.
only thing I do have, they started today, they stopped because of the rain, the punch list micro surfacing, you might see them out. They did some of it today, I think, then quit, and they'll be back tomorrow, as long as there's no rain chances, to finish up the punch list work, so, I should be able to wrap it up tomorrow. And then, I'm not sure if anybody noticed or not, I had them redo the bike path from Nicor.
Yes, I did.
Did you really?
That has been redone with 6 inches of asphalt, so,
Yeah, they
Yeah,
got
that's much
horses
better.
blocking it right now.
Yeah, what?
Look at you.
Real horse?
Barricades.
that's what I do, Billy, I mean, it's what I bring to the table.
Now you just gotta get the
Stop it.
posts in front, so people stop driving on them.
So, what's that?
Now we just need the posts at the entrance and exits to the ramp.
Yes, yeah. So we'll take the barricades down tomorrow, they just, like I said, they did it first thing this morning, I believe, so.
Well done, Rick.
Anything
So, I think that's pretty much it,
Have anything,
really.
Fergie?
Alright, Fergie's done, you're done, we're moving on to utilities.
So I'm gonna go
Back to
back,
Fergie.
I'm going back to Fergie, that's right.
I thought this was you, Dina.
He said we, but I said him.
Okay.
You're it for,
All right, so I'll try to keep this short. We are starting to experience some problems at wastewater. You've heard me say that before. We lost, a couple weeks ago, we lost one of the PLCs in the digester building. So basically, the PLC, you guys are probably familiar with it. The PLC is basically like a little mini computer that tells the blowers, we can adjust the blowers, we can do all that kind of stuff. Well, all the buildings basically have PLCs in them. So, we lost the one in the digester building, so basically we cannot communicate with that, through the SCADA anymore. We have to go out and manually do everything. We can't, basically it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, we can blame Matt, he's here, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
So, long story short, this is Siemens. Siemens is no more. We have gone through about every rep that we can find. This stuff, you can't find the parts, the PLCs, we found 2 of them on eBay used, not buying them. We found 2 contractors, one that can only view the programming, they can't do nothing with it, they can't print it out, they can't do anything. We found another company that can view it and possibly program. So, we can't work on this system. It is obsolete. It doesn't exist anymore. We've had everybody and their brother tell us, forget it, we can't touch it. We need to look at upgrading everything out there when it comes to PLCs. So that way, everything is current, up-to-date technology. Like I said, this is an ongoing thing, so...
And nobody makes a direct replacement?
No, there is nothing. We have
Do you talk to Gas Voda at all, or?
Gas Voda is the only one that can program a PLC, get into the system.
Okay, 'cause they have a
Designed this thing.
they had a company that are a lot of the Siemens people that
The
just
problem is you can't get the parts.
What's that?
The
You
parts
can't get-
don't exist.
parts don't exist
You can't
anymore.
buy a PLC for a Siemens. We found 2 on eBay.
They got out of that years ago.
When you type it in, it comes up unavailable.
Okay.
So,
Bottom
our
line
system
it
is-
please.
Our system is obsolete, okay? It's that
We can't
simple.
replace with what we have.
I know, but he's getting to the bad news. He just...
That's the bad news.
Well,
It's
so
just
anyway,
taking time.
we had one company that was gracious enough to come down and basically spend all day and do an evaluation, give us a price for nothing. That was PDC. We work with PDC quite often. And I'm just scratching the surface here. I'm not getting into all the details with you right now because we're still working on a lot of stuff. So basically, for PDC to come down and do all of the new PLCs, this also involves some SCADA integration between water, wastewater, everything. I'll give you an example. They break it down into 2. They break it down per building or to come in and do the job all at once. Now, this is one price here. To come in and do all the buildings and get them all up to speed the way they're supposed to be, you're looking at $129,000.
We gotta
What
redo
brand
the
is
budget
that?
appropriations.
That is Allen Bradley.
Okay.
So, what's that, William?
Just don't
I
buy
said we
an
gotta
Allen Bradley VFD.
rediscuss the budget appropriations talk now.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So then they break it down into buildings. Basically, I'll give you an example. So my next biggest concern, we lost the digester building. The digester building is not really an emergency. We can still go out, we can change things by hand. The problem we have is if, what'd I do, Brenda? Oh, sorry.
Speed it up for...
Oh, nothing yet. So, like, my concern would be the what you could call the headworks building, the lift station building, basically where the raw comes into the plant. That is, for me, that is my biggest concern. If we lose communication out there, we have no alarms, we have nothing that is reading level sensors, it would literally be bypassing, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we lose the PLC is what tells the pumps to turn on,
Exactly.
shut off, everything else. That becomes me or George standing over a pit going, okay, turn it on, and that's gonna get
They're
all that.
literally logic
few
controls. They're
hours.
gonna take the inputs from one thing and give
Yes.
outputs based on that information.
So, as Matt can tell you, we don't know how long we have. We've already had one fail. The rest of these could go for another year, they could go for 5 years, they could go tomorrow. I'm not willing to take that chance because I don't even wanna think about what would happen if we
I
lost
agree with William, we
him.
need to look at this in the budgetary,
Um,
talks and get this set up, just do it all.
but either way.
Is that what you were saying, William?
No, that's not what I'm
Yes,
saying.
it is.
Well, I can tell you right now that no matter how we go about doing this, it needs to start soon, very soon.
Because if it goes down, you lose one of the critical components, you're
Yes.
done.
Yes.
So you're telling me that this couldn't wait to be budgeted next budget year?
I don't know. We've
How much
already
for the
lost
one building?
And thank God it was the building that we really can go
Well,
out and
what happens if you
change
lose
by
the
hand.
oxidation ditch?
How much for the one building?
That's my point is, I mean,
Exactly.
Matt could answer, if we lose something that's critical, as in the headworks building or the ditch or something that control it, it is literally, so,
Let me ask this. If the PLC
Who's
and
flowing?
the inflow, as you call it, or as you used to call it, where the cars are,
yeah,
Race cars.
yes, yes.
how long would it take to get the company to come down and replace everything? Do they give that kind of time?
First, you
frame?
gotta order the parts, you gotta
Right.
get everything in. I mean, it's not, we'll be there tomorrow, chances are.
I understand, like a
Um,
couple weeks, 2 weeks?
I don't know. It's,
So you wanna put a cot in the basement? Let-
so we're working on, one other thing that we're working on is we have
We'll volunteer, Fergie.
We have a company, because I'm not busy at all. We have a company coming down, that's going to take a look at it. They may have actually come down today, to take a look at some of the critical points at the plant and see if there would be a temporary workaround. Not the permanent fix or anything like that. We don't know yet. It was basically gonna be an evaluation to see if that is even feasible out there. So, like I said, I'm not trying to make this sound like it is absolute end of the world, we've gotta go crazy here, but we've had one fail, and I don't know if that's due to
We've
age.
known the SCADA system is,
Well, we're talking two different things here.
Yes.
but
is because
Yes, the
it's-
SCADA has needed work, basically.
For
There are
some
stuff that
time.
cannot be changed, not be done,
Years.
since the day the plant was
I'll
built.
come right out and say it. Can we chance it and try and put it in the next budget year? And then if it fails before then, we can do it as an emergency appropriation change if needed, and then get the money from reserves. If it fails where it's an emergency.
I'm not gonna say no to that, but I'm also gonna say I don't know what would happen in an emergency if it fails,
Brett, I
because...
think you'd have to find out what the availability of the parts are.
Exactly.
Because
I
if
mean,
your parts are 6 weeks out,
yeah. If my parts are 2 weeks out, I
You
don't
can't
even know
tell
how
me
to
that
do it.
every single one has to be changed at this point. If there's something that needs to be critically changed to limit the amount for this year, then maybe we could look at that as opposed to the entire
He
system.
said that. I mean, I took
I
out-
understand
I was talking
that,
budgetary
but-
for next year, so.
I understand that, but basically, the only building that isn't absolutely critical is already down. The influent is critical, the oxidation ditch is critical, you know, we're running out of less critical things. So I'm not saying we're spending the money tomorrow, Chris.
I mean,
I'm just saying-
everything on the water and wastewater side, everything's run by PLCs.
Thank
So
you.
let me back,
Everything,
back up one step.
and Davis Junction's no different than any other community. I mean, everything is run off of PLCs.
Are they the same Siemens PLC in every building?
I do believe for the
If
most...
they are, we could probably do something like work on the headworks,
Yeah.
take those PLCs, use them as spares until we can get to next budgetary year.
Possibly, yes, every one of them is, I believe, independently programmed, so it's not like a giant
Right.
program running
No,
to
no,
a
no.
central,
No, no,
everything is
it's
programmed.
specific to where it's at, I know that.
That's if we can program them, we still haven't even confirmed that we can do that
Understood.
yet.
With the old one.
Yes, so,
If the old one's alive enough that they can pull the
Yes.
program,
correct,
that'd be
Correct.
ideal.
yes,
But currently, there's only one company still that
yes,
programs them.
that is
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Uh,
that might be an option, is you take a building that's critical, you
Yeah.
upgrade that building, or you find the building that has the most
Yeah.
of these darn things in it,
And that's why we had
and you
to do a
upgrade that
per
one,
building
and then you use
price.
these other ones as spares until we can get to the next budgetary year.
Yes, that's why we went
Yeah,
with
but
the
then
per
you're
building price
running
as well.
different components and
It shouldn't matter, they'll
How
talk.
did you say the per building price?
We
Do
have
you wanna
signals.
do a per building
It-
price?
they-
Yeah, I've got several,
I don't know, Matt, would it matter?
correct.
What's that?
Can we run different components in different buildings and still have?
We
the
did it
money?
every day in General Mills, and,
I know, but he's an engineer.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to. I mean, there shouldn't be any reason why you can't.
All right, just checking.
Oh.
How much for the one
Wrong
building,
here.
just out of curiosity? Did they give you a
Headworks.
quote?
Well, I've only got, so basically, that's about 30 grand.
All right.
For the Headworks building is about 30 grand. Now, that's one price, so,
And that's just from PDC.
well, so that's the other problem, is we're not gonna find too many companies to come down here and do this level of,
Integration.
well, to give us a quote
They did a whole
like this.
evaluation.
Right.
and-
So I've also had, just so we kinda had an idea, if we were looking at doing this as a, basically a bid packet to hand out to several different, so that way, you know,
You'd
we're all
have to-
speaking the same
You'd
language.
have to bid that, it's over the bid limit.
I understand that.
Sorry.
So basically, what I did was I asked McMahon to give me a price on creating that bid packet. So I know,
So we're prepared.
so we got an idea, so if we wanted to send it out to 6 different vendors, contractors, whatever you wanna look at, we're all speaking the same language. I did get a rough price from McMahon today on, not the bid packet, but to create the bid packet. So, once again, we're working on things, this is still, this is still moving.
So-
It's-
Just so I
You might,
understand,
you might be able to reach out more regionally if you had that, or nationally, if you had that for that kind of project.
Yes, but another thing that we're very concerned about is we wanna watch, we wanna be careful on who does this work. We don't want somebody that there's no customer service after. We want someone that we kinda know as well. So this, I don't want this to be a huge, okay, here it is to 15 different people, you know, and the lowest bid is from Georgia. You know, we wanna be careful on this as well. So I'm not
I think-
saying
I
that there's
think
not
one of the
others
things-
out there. I'm just saying we need to be
One of the
careful.
things we need to make sure is that, and we ran into that before at the wastewater plant, was the programming was not ours. It may be now because it's all dead,
Yeah.
it's all
yeah,
obsolete.
Yeah, that could be.
But we wanna make sure that when we get this, the programs are ours
Yes.
and we back them up.
Yes, yes, yes.
just so I understand, the company had come down, gave us a quote, wanted to repair the one bad PCL, or
that-
to reprogram it.
We have one that we don't know if it's good or not. I'm getting a price from Gas Voda to come down and take a look at a quote-unquote spare, but we don't know if that spare is even good. That's for the digester building, William, that I was telling you that we did lose. So,
And then the 130 is to replace all PLCs or reprogram our current one?
no, that is all
It's
brand new
older.
equipment.
Brand new.
Allen Bradley, we don't have the Siemens anymore, because, like I said, there are no more.
But that still doesn't address the SCADA problem.
Well,
Some of it
It- yeah,
does. There is
piece of it.
some work in the SCADA.
There's
But
some
it's not a whole new
communication
system.
work, but it's not the system.
it's not a
Right.
whole new.
Yes,
system.
it's not all of the SCADA work that we've talked about doing, but it does tie some of it.
So if we were
in.
to
Yes.
do the PLC project next year in the budget year
Mm-hmm.
at 130 estimatedly, replace all of it, and then a year or two later, we end up doing the SCADA system, are we duplicating some work with the PCLs that we would have done the year or two prior?
No, if we were to go through and do the PLC work
Does that
and.
make sense?
Sure, it absolutely
Yeah, I know where
does.
you're going
Yeah.
with it.
Are
No,
we
because it
duplicating
would,
what we already did on some of the stuff? Yeah, no.
no, because
Okay.
then when it would come to the SCADA work, it would basically be evaluated again, what needs to be done, what wasn't taken care of when we did the upgrade
Okay.
with the PLCs, and move on from there. It wouldn't be basically reworking the same thing we just did, so if that's where you're going.
Yeah,
Partially, yes.
pick
Yes,
up what we
okay,
left off,
yes.
yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted these talks to start.
But all the lateral logic for all those PLCs are in the O and Ms,
Right,
correct?
I believe.
So they should be able to,
Signed it, I don't know.
they should be able to, whoever's giving you the quote, they're not redesigning the system. I mean,
No, there's
all
no
the, all,
redesigning the
all
system.
the, all the lateral logic's right there
It's
for them.
basically taking what we have, tying Allen Bradley
Yep.
into it, and then basically programming everything,
Yep.
to make it work. That is
You're
correct.
welcome.
That is correct.
Doesn't matter, you can't do it without bidding it anyway,
Yeah.
unless it's an emergency situation, I
So,
assume.
well, no, I'm not here saying that I
Yeah, he's
need to
not trying
get
to not-
that
Getting the
dollar
ball
amount
rolling.
approved
No, I
next week.
understand, I'm just saying, we
Yes.
can't do it unless, I mean, if
Getting the
the,
ball
if
rolling.
one of them, the big ones,
Yes.
failed, you could do that on emergency without bidding it out,
Yes.
correct? Yeah,
Well, I don't know. That's a,
I'm pretty sure you could do it without bidding out if it's emergency situation.
right, okay.
As
If
opposed
the flow
to,
to the plant were to fail and we
Right,
get
yeah,
backing up
right,
pipe,
yeah,
yes.
right,
Yeah, you've only got so long before that pipe fills.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
No, I get
basically,
it.
this was just kind of an information, that's all this was.
And we
I'm
just
not
want to share
asking
that, 'cause we
for-
don't want to get to the point where we are having to do
Yeah,
that.
approval, I'm not asking for anything like that, this was just information to tell you what is beginning
What's
or
coming.
potentially beginning to happen out there. You know, like I keep telling everybody, our stuff is not new anymore.
It's kind of
you know,
like the
it's
water
not
tower
new.
project.
11 years
We've been
old.
talking about it for years.
How long is that 36-inch pipe?
36 inches.
No, that's diameter.
We run, that runs
Huh?
part of the way to town, well, kind of part, what was that, Painting Place? Kind of
Yeah.
middle of Painting Place, and then it branches off to the north.
Yes.
Sorry.
Branches off to the north, and then a smaller line comes,
So you got what, 1,500 feet maybe?
all right, well, easily.
Volume?
More than that.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would probably take days for it to actually get back to where you'd back up.
Yeah, I don't wanna find out.
No.
Don't wanna find out is correct, but
So,
Do they put sensors in those?
not in the manholes at all, no,
no,
no.
we did,
Just high level at the plant.
we did, 2 weeks ago, we did set up our 4-inch pump. We did bypass pump out at wastewater to confirm all that works. I had to order 2 new hoses, but, so that's like absolutely into the world worst case scenario there, but we wanted to do it to confirm it could be done. So, like I said, we're also looking at taking precautions and figuring out a game plan if things were to go south. I'm not saying they're going to, but,
Preparation.
I don't work like, oh, well, it'll be fine. I always plan for worst case, so, but that was it. That, just some information for you, and it's ongoing, and
Maybe ask them if you're looking for some, at least redundancy as far as, the big thing is the influent pump station. It's got a pump.
yes,
Maybe one thing to take a look at is an independent system from the PLC that's just running off of floats.
yes,
So once it gets so high,
yes.
it'll just run off of it.
Yes, yeah, we're looking at basically just a temporary fix to get us by until we decide, if worst case scenario, if it came down to it, to get us by until, like I said, whether we approved it in an emergency or whatever. Floats, everything else, unfortunately, that's not typically tied in, so we can't remove it and see that.
No, you won't know elevations, but you will be pumping.
It would be emergency only.
Yep, you would be pumping.
That is correct, thank you, Matt. So, that's all for me, thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, they've got some. Radwell International, I sent you that thing. Radwell International,
Oh, okay,
they have some Siemens, but it might not be the right one.
okay.
They do also offer repair service.
Yeah,
We
we
had
had a list, Jason Vose, not to bring this up again, sorry, but, Jason Vose was basically just calling everybody and he could possibly think of, when it came to these PLCs and everything, to try to find whether people had them on the shelves, whether they could program. He did a lot of legwork on that, and we came up with basically Gas Voda, and that is it. So, I think that's it, I promise, I'm done.
All right. Move on to unfinished business. Anybody have anything on that?
No.
Steve? All right. Anything more from the board members?
No, sir.
One last chance for public.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Chris makes a motion to adjourn. John seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. We are adjourned at